You're on Nightside with Dan Ray on WBZ, Boston's News Radio.
All right, I want to welcome Steve Cotton. He's a financial strategist and a policy expert, president of Cotton Wealth Management Associates. Steve Cotton, welcome to Nightside. How are you, sir?
Well, I'm just great. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So we had a big government shutdown back in October and November, which had tremendous political ramifications, and I think that the Democrats regretted the shutdown once it was over. So we got kind of a mini shutdown this weekend. The government tends not to really function on weekends, and as I understand it, there had been a deal reached yesterday, but Chuck Schumer did not get the word out to the Senate, and the Senate went home. What's going on? There will be technically a shutdown of sorts this weekend, as I understand it. I'm sure you can explain it more effectively than that.
Well, basically what's happened is the Senate has agreed to and has, in fact, passed 5 appropriation bills funding 5 of the 6 major agencies, and they've agreed to an extension, a 2-week extension on the budget for the Department of Homeland Security. That 2-week extension is intended to allow some time for negotiations between the White House, the Senate Republican leadership, and the House Republican leadership, and the Democrats on fine-tuning the Department of Homeland Security budget and really imposing some conditions that directly affect ICE, such as, for example, the Democrats want to require ICE agents to wear cameras, body cameras. They want to restructure the use of force guidelines, and there are several other things that they are demanding in exchange for voting on the budget. I think in this case, President Trump took a page out of Ronald Reagan's playbook, and that is Reagan always said, I'd rather get half a loaf than no loaf at all. And I think President Trump wanted to get these appropriations bills passed from these other agencies to try to limit any kind of a shutdown. Now, technically, the shutdown will happen on tomorrow because the House is still out of session. It comes back Monday. It can't take up the bill the Senate just passed until Monday, but I'm confident it will, and Speaker Johnson has said he will support it.
Yeah, you know, from my perspective, and I'm a political guy at heart, spent many years as a political reporter on television and now doing a talk show. To me, it looks like all kabuki theater. Meaning the Democrats are playing to their base, trying to say, we're going to get this, we're going to get that, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. The Republicans are playing to their base, and as you say, eventually they agree, and they each take away what they consider to be a political victory of some sorts. And in the meantime, there's actually governance that's supposed to happen, and it's done by both parties, and they do it to play not only to their base, to their voters, but also to their contributors and their most avid supporters. I don't know if you agree with that, but call me a cynic if you don't. Go right ahead.
Well, no, I don't think you're being cynical at all. I think you're being a realist, and both parties do play to their base. I think the Democrats in the last government shutdown won and lost. They won in that it galvanized their supporters in Virginia and New Jersey to come out. A lot of those were government workers. It galvanized them to come out, and they won major elections in those 2 states. I think they lost in the court of public opinion because government shutdowns hurt everybody. They hurt the flying public. They hurt federal employees. They hurt the air traffic controllers. They hurt flying passengers. Government shutdowns are not good for anyone, especially federal government employees, and for the function of the agency. So it's a blunt instrument. It is not helpful, but in Washington, the politicians will use whatever leverage they have to try to wring out concessions from the other side. And I think that's what the Democrats are doing in this case. They want to get Trump to make some concessions on the way ICE works, and some of those are a little bit iffy, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that they're going to be able to convince Trump. First of all, I think, and I'm speaking as someone who's a big supporter of police and law enforcement generally. I'm not saying police or law enforcement that acts out but 99.9% of police officers, law enforcement officers in this country go to work every day just hoping to get through the day and get home and do whatever they have to do. They don't go out with the intention of hurting other people, and anybody who does that should be thrown off whatever department they're working for. I actually think, from a law enforcement point of view, that body cameras are helpful to the police, because people often see, like in a hockey game, you see the response, who the guy gets the penalty. Somebody, when the ref isn't looking, he slashes the guy, and the ref doesn't see that, but then the guy who has been slashed turns around and retaliates. He goes to the box for 2 minutes. Same way, the body cameras show real life and what police officers, men and women, face when they're confronted by people who have an animus to begin with towards any law enforcement. Maybe they've had a bad experience in the past, but they bring that bad experience and that animus. And if I was a union lawyer for law enforcement anywhere in the country, I'd say, let's get those body cameras on, because it's going to benefit law enforcement, because you will then see what these officers go through on a day-to-day basis.
Well, that's true. And if you think about what these poor guys and women have had to face, they are facing professional agitators. Yeah, sure, there are some well-meaning people in the mob, but a lot of these are paid agitators. They are trained. They get in the face of these law enforcement officials. They goad these people. They push them. They dare them to reach out. They dare them to shoot them. They dare them to get outrageous. And if you compare the very restrained operation of the ICE agents in Minnesota to the Ayatollahs in Iran and how they have shot into crowds willy-nilly and killed literally thousands of protesters, it's night and day different. So correct.
But a lot of the protesters in Minnesota would say to you, oh, these guys in ICE are the same. Well, they call them stormtroopers, Nazis, fascists, which, of course, is what truly the Revolutionary Guard in Iran in actuality are. There's a lot of irony. So now you are a financial strategist and policy expert, and I can't avoid asking you, where do you see the economy 3 months, 6 months, 9 months from now? We're heading into the midterm elections, and putting aside whatever political team you might be rooting for, I'm thinking that this economy is going to be trending upward in the next several months, and that, I assume, will inure to the benefit of the Republicans. If I'm wrong on that, please help me out.
Well, I agree with you, and let me give you some historical perspective. I was in Washington when Ronald Reagan was president, and I saw him do all of the things that he did. He began to rebuild the defense budget after President Carter had cut it every year except his last year when the Russians invaded Afghanistan. I saw him do the enhanced countable tax cuts, historic tax cuts at the time. I saw him try to trim the budget expenditures. I saw him address regulations. And the foundation that he laid in 1981 led to the longest peacetime economic expansion in American history that went all the way into the Clinton years. I will tell you what Trump has done in terms of the One Big Beautiful Bill, reauthorizing the 2017 Trump tax cuts, cutting government regulations, bringing in new tariff revenues, bringing in foreign investment. All of these things is 100 times bigger than what Ronald Reagan ever did. So I think you're correct. I think there's going to be economic expansion as a result of this. We're going to have some choppy markets. Bull markets always climb a wall of worry. But what Trump is trying to do is lay the foundation for a long, sustained period of economic growth. And I think with low tax rates and all of the things he's done, no tax on PIPs, no tax on overtime, $6,000 tax credit if you're on Social Security income below a certain income level. All of those things are huge.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think a lot of them are going to help people, particularly folks who are working or who have worked and are now retired that you just alluded to, those are not going to be benefiting millionaires or billionaires. There may be some things in there for billionaires and millionaires as well, but it is a broad-based benefit. And that's what I think some folks are missing. They'll begin to realize it when their tax returns are filed in April and their refunds are returned in May. So we'll see what happens.
I think that's right. One of the things that's... Go ahead.
Steve, I hate to do this to you, but I'm into my newscast here. I really enjoyed it. I'd love to have you back. Did you work in the Reagan administration, or were you there as a reporter?
No, I was there on Capitol Hill. I was working for a member of the House on the House side as a senior staffer.
Who were you working for? Who were you working for at the time? Who were you working for?
I worked for Jack Hightower from Texas.
Out of Texas, sure. Yeah, I remember Hightower. Yeah. Did you ever run into a guy down in Texas named Jack Gallahorn?
Yes, I knew Jack.
Jack is a longtime friend of mine as well, so we have a mutual acquaintance there. Not bad. Steve Cotton, we'll have you back. If you talk to Gallahorn sometime, say hello. He was the top assistant to a former Speaker of the House in Texas.
That's correct, and then he became a lobbyist.
Yep, no, I know that. A lot of people do. Thank you very much, Steve. I enjoyed it. Thanks. We'll do it again.
Me too.
Thank you very much.